The Medicare Advantage plans are technically contracted only for that calendar year. A lot of them stay in the market and stay similar, but they're only contracted for the year. The Medicare supplements, they're standard. They're not going to change.
Mm.
The other really big thing about the Medicare supplements is that there are no networks. You can see 92% of the doctors in the country that accept Medicare. You can see go to 92% of the facilities that accept Medicare. So you're paying for that freedom of being able to see anyone that you want to see in the United States. And you're also paying for that consistency. You know nothing is going to change unless Congress is going to pull it together and make a change for you.
Welcome to the Carolina Senior Talk Podcast, your trusted source for all things related to senior living in the Carolinas. In each episode, we'll guide you through the best locations, offer advice on buying a home, and share tips on relocating within this beautiful region. Whether you're exploring new senior communities, considering a move, or looking to invest in your current dream home, we've got you covered. So sit back, relax, and get ready to discover everything you need to know about senior living in the Carolinas. Hello there. Welcome to episode 3, Carolina Senior Talk Podcast. Welcome again, my friends. Listen, if you're a baby boomer, plus or minus a few, this podcast is for you. Today's topic, what we're going to be discussing, is something that's very relevant if you are in age 50s or 60s or older. That makes you a baby boomer. And we're going to help you navigate the complexities of Medicare, something we all love, but we need. It's going to hopefully enable you to make more informed decisions that best suit your specific health and financial needs. My name is Dave Edwards. I'm your host, and I'm with Welcome Home Properties. I'm affiliated with Keller Williams Lake Norman office. But today's guest, who is the expert, is Erin Egan, and she's with Vimirra Insurance, and she is a health insurance expert. So she covers Medicare and what is it called? The ACA, I guess. Those are the two arenas that you get into, right, Erin?
Affordable Care Act. Yep.
Affordable Care Act, yeah. Okay. So a little bit about Erin. Where is she from? Well, she's from Pittsburgh, and as I say in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, PA. She lives in Cornelius, the Lake Norman area, and her interests include, well, her first comment to that was, well, what are those? She's a self-proclaimed workaholic. She loves her 3 nieces and nephew. She enjoys music, concerts. She loves independent restaurants in the Lake Norman area. So, Erin, I'm going to put you on the spot. Name 2 of your fave restaurants in the Lake Norman area.
Well, the first one is Epic.
Yeah.
My parents come to town they come to North Carolina for a month every summer.
Excellent.
We were just there a couple weekends ago. They love going to Epic. So who doesn't love Epic? And then Antica in Huntersville in the Target shopping plaza. I don't want to give up a secret, but you have to go in there and you have to ask for a booth. It's so tiny when you sit in those little tables. It's just, you get hit a lot by people coming by. So we always go into Antica and we always reserve a booth and we wait for it because it's more enjoyable.
We do the same. Great Italian food. The sauce is amazing, marinara sauce, and the service is impeccable. Love the place. It's very intimate in there. Yeah, that's a winner for sure. Keys to success. What? Hard work, you indicated, and you just love to be genuine. And I found you to be that and so I'm very impressed with you, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Perhaps your background explains why you are the way you are. Formerly, you were a teacher, and I think that is fabulous for this arena where it gets to be complex, and you have to educate before you can give guidance on what is the best solution. What areas do you cover? What geographic areas do you cover?
So I'm predominantly in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, but interesting enough, since I started out working in the business for someone else before I'm not on my own, I'm actually licensed in 26 states.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Yes. So the majority of my business is here locally. And then of course, South Carolina is considered locally as well in this part of the world. And I do a lot of business back home in Pittsburgh where my family is. And then I do definitely have a few dozen clients all over just from referrals of people who know that their friends and loved ones don't have access to a good broker or they've moved.
Word of mouth. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So we all have certain motivations for doing what we do. And you had mentioned something in our previous conversations about your grandparents being a source of motivation. Can you elaborate on that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I grew up in a big Catholic Irish family, and I'm one of 15 grandchildren, and family was everything. That's how we spent our life growing up. You know, if we weren't at a communion or a christening or a wedding or a funeral, it was a rare weekend. And our elders were always the most important people in the room. They were the VIPs, had the best seats, you know, got to eat first, made sure they had drinks. And I grew up as well in like a traditional, well, not traditional, but generational household. You know, my grandparents came and lived with us when the time came that they could no longer live on their own. And so
Mhm.
I didn't know any different. You know, I never knew that not taking care of your grandparents was an option. You know, we always took care of our elders.
It's about family.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That serves me as well as I didn't know my grandparents, but I do know my children's grandparents, and we also took care of our in-laws, you know, and my parents, and went through that as well. So these things are very near and dear to your heart and to our heart. So hence we do what we do.
Yeah.
Um, so before we get into it, though, there is a gauntlet that you have to pass through.
Oh gosh.
And
Okay.
if you don't succeed at this, we're going to end this real quickly. But the gauntlet is trivia, and what better trivia than that with baby boomers? So, you game?
I'm game. Am I
All
allowed to use
right,
Google?
all right. So you have your choice.
Okay.
We can talk about decades, 50s, 60s, 80s,
Ooh.
90s, or you can have categories. Okay, and the categories include pop culture, television, music, movies, cars, news, sports, or a bonus section. And for the bonus, you'll get an extra 100 points.
Oh, okay. I mean, the risk taker in me wants to do bonus, but let's start with pop culture.
You want to do pop culture? All right.
Yes. Let's see.
Pop culture it is. This is fun. All right. All right. This one's a slam dunk. Which park opened July 17th, 1955? That was before I was born.
Wait a
A,
minute.
Central Park. B,
1994.
Disneyland in Anaheim.
Ooh.
C, Yellowstone in National Park. And last but not least, Walt Disney World in Orlando. So that was Central Park in New York, Disneyland in Anaheim, Yellowstone, and Walt Disney World in Orlando.
I feel so confident I know this answer. It's crazy that I do, and I believe I do because I have a 30-year anniversary collection of the Seven Dwarfs from the 30th anniversary of Walt Disney World in Orlando.
1955 was the key date there. That would be Anaheim. That was the first Disneyland that opened up.
Oh, okay. Well, I was close. I get a
Yeah, it
half a
was
point.
close. That was you get a half a point. You get a half a point. All right, one more.
Okay. I was
Uh,
so proud of myself. I was like, I have no idea what this question is. And then when you said Walt Disney World, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was like walking around with those pins in the 80s.
okay, here's the from the bonus. So this is double or nothing here.
Okay.
Al Pacino stars in this film about a Cuban refugee turned Miami drug lord. The name of the movie: A, Scarface. B, Johnny Dangerously. C, The Sicilian. D, The Godfather.
Ugh.
A is Scarface.
Yeah. It's either A
B
or
is
C.
Johnny Dangerously. C is Sicilian. And D is The Godfather.
I'm gonna say Scarface, because I'm pretty sure The Godfather happened in New York, but I could be wrong again. But go ahead, let's see.
Bing, 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 bing. You
Okay.
win. All right, double or nothing. You got through the gauntlet. Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. Trivia is always fun.
Yeah, like I was expecting like questions about like Cher and Madonna, pop culture.
I should have looked for one that was a little bit more current, right? Oh my gosh, a lot of fun. Well, let's dive into it.
Okay.
So we're here to talk about Medicare,
Hmm.
and a lot of us may not be aware of what Medicare is. So let's start very simply. What is Medicare? How does it work?
Okay, I do want to pause for a minute because you said something interesting in the intro that I don't know if you noticed it, but you said something about we love Medicare, and I don't think anybody loves Medicare.
But it's a necessity.
Yes. And it's why I will probably, always be in business. So Medicare is the federal government's health insurance program. Once you turn 65, you move into Medicare. You're not allowed to continue into COBRA or the Affordable Care Act. And it is the health insurance that the federal government provides our citizens. Of course, they have paid into the system via their FICA, Social Security, and Medicare. And so in exchange, the government pays for half of it and they have responsibility as well.
Okay. When is somebody eligible to enroll in Medicare?
The majority of individuals in Medicare are going to be age 65. When they turn 65, like I said, you have to go into Medicare, and that's when the majority of them do enroll. If you continue to work and you have credible employer coverage, you can continue to stay on that employer coverage, or if not, you need to go into original Medicare.
All right, and there are enrollment periods. Is that correct? And if
There, yep,
okay,
there
and if you
are.
miss that enrollment period, what then?
So there are penalties. You do have penalties for Part B and Part D if you do miss your enrollment period, your initial enrollment period when you're 65. So you want to avoid those so you
Mhm.
don't get caught with those, because the thing about those penalties is those are for life. So you are not going to be able to unload those at any point for any reason.
Okay, so you talked about various parts. Can you go in a little bit deeper in terms of what these parts are? I think it's A, B, C, and D, and so
Mhm.
forth. So if you could elaborate at a high level, I know you do seminars on these things that go many hours, so we don't want to go there yet. But at a high level, what are those and what do they cover?
So your Part A is going to be that Part A is hospital. I tell all my clients to think about this part as like you're checking into the hospital, just like you're checking into the hotel. So whatever happens in that hospital is going to be billed through Part A hospital. So whether you get x-rays, you have rehabilitation therapy while you're in there,
Mm.
obviously your room, your meals, everything gets billed under Part A. Another way to remember it is anything that you are laying in a bed, confined to a bed. So when you're in a hospital, you're confined to a bed. If you are in assisted facility, or I'm sorry, skilled nursing facility, you are confined to a bed, as well as hospice, you are confined to a bed. The only exception to the rule is hospice can happen at anywhere of your preference. So if you want for it to occur in the hospital, if you want it to occur in a hospice facility, or the privacy of your home, that is the only exception. So you're always checked in when you are in Part A hospital. Now, Part B, I tell my clients that is anything you're driving to. So think about you're driving to your primary care doctor, you're driving to your physical therapy, you are driving to for your mental health appointments. Anything that you are driving to, where you're receiving medical care, that is going to be billed under your Part B. A few other additionals as well is your durable medical equipment. So a lot of seniors are on CPAPs. They have their
Mm.
CPAP machines. They need their supplies. If you eventually need a walker or a wheelchair, maybe you fall and sprain your wrist, you'll need a wrist guard. So that's all going to be built under Part B. And then we have Part D. This is D for drugs. And so the interesting thing about Part D is that the government requires us to have A, B, and D, but the government pays a part of A and B, but they do not provide anything on D. So you have to buy that 100% yourself. In D, I tell my clients to think of D of anything that they are self-administering themselves in the privacy of their home. So those are the prescription medications that you pick up at CVS. Maybe you get meds by mail. Anything that you are administering yourself that has most likely gone through the hands of a pharmacist, that is going to be under Part D. And you also do have any vaccines that you have received maybe at a pharmacy as well. That comes under Part D drugs.
Okay.
Yep.
And then C is, we'll dive into that maybe briefly a little bit later.
Yep.
That's the Advantage. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Because A and B, because the government doesn't pay 100% of A and B, you're going to have to get supplemental coverage, and that's one of the options.
That's supplemental. Okay. So that leads to the next question. Are there any services or treatments that Medicare doesn't cover that jump out?
Correct. Yeah. So in original Medicare, you do not have dental, vision, hearing. Obviously, if something happens that's medically necessary, they will cover it. But your basic dental, getting your cleanings, fillings, crowns, not covered. Your vision, your hearing, need hearing aids, none of that is going to be covered. International travel is not covered in original Medicare. And also long-term care. So whenever you need to go to an assisted facility, that is going to be 100% on you, whether you have long-term care or you're going to be a cash payer. And of course, as we talked about, prescription drugs is not covered under it.
How do you have to pay for this? Obviously, you have to pay for the supplemental and Plan D, if I hear you correctly. But A and B are provided by the government, correctly, out of our taxpayers, I guess. Is that correct?
Somewhat correct. So you have to earn your A by getting your 40 credits. Either you earn 40 credits, which is equal to 10 years, or your spouse has. And that is going to be a $0 premium. And then your B is subsidized. So you do have a Part B premium for this particular year. It's $174.70, and that changes every year. But you do have a Part B premium that you have to pay no matter what supplemental coverage that you choose.
So I incur a bill. How do I handle that? How are the costs handled?
Well, it depends on which supplemental plan you cover.
Okay.
So you choose. So if you choose to stay with original Medicare, you get to call the government and ask them, hey, what's happening with this bill? If you choose Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage, you're going to be dealing directly with the insurance company that you choose.
Okay. So there are different providers.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Any loopholes in the original Medicare? Is there an extra coverage or to protect somebody? How does that?
So in original Medicare in your Part A, the government pays quite a bit if you're in the hospital for the first 60 days. For the first 60 days, all you have to pay is $1,632. The government is paying a pretty big chunk of that hospital bill. However, if you stay beyond days 60, it gets quite expensive, and you're now paying co-pays of $400. And when you get up to day 90, you're paying co-pays of $800 a day. And if you would, God forbid, be in the hospital beyond 150 days, you're 100% responsible for that. So that can get very expensive. And then in Part B, on the surface, Part B looks really great because Part B, all you have to pay is the $240 deductible. And then the government pays 80% of the bill and you're responsible for 20%. And quite often, individuals in my Medicare seminar will say, well, 20% isn't that bad, right? But two big caveats. 20%, there is no maximum out of pocket. So you can run up $1 million under Part B and be responsible for $200,000. And then right away, they will say, well, what in the world could I possibly run up $1 million if I'm not in the hospital? And the number one way is chemotherapy, cancer. So when you think about cancer, you think about Parkinson's, you think about ALS, you think about Alzheimer's, all of those serious illnesses are treated in outpatient. So that is going to get you at that 20% with no maximum out of pocket.
Wow.
Yes,
Didn't take that into account.
yes.
So, Part C, the
Mhm.
Medicare Advantage. You want to dive a little deeper on that?
Sure. So, in order to protect yourself from those loopholes of original Medicare, you can choose Part C. And the easiest way to think about Part C is Part C essentially mirrors your employer coverage. It is what we call managed care. You're no longer in original Medicare. You continue to choose to stay in managed care. Right now, most of us are in managed care. And what is that? It's that we are playing by the rules of our insurance. So we have to see doctors that are in network. We have to go to facilities that are in network. We have a deductible. We have a maximum out of pocket, and we have copays that we pay along the way. So your option is to go into a Medicare Advantage and continue that path that you've been used to for the first 64 years. Right now, we don't really see deductibles in Medicare Advantage, which is nice. We rarely see premiums in Medicare Advantage, which is nice, a $0 premium. But you're playing by the rules of the plan. You have to make sure you get your pre-authorizations from them for any big testing. And then a couple other pros for them is that include your prescription drug coverage that you are required to get. So that is very important. And it can also pick up the things that original Medicare does not offer. So you can get your dental, you can get your vision, you can get your hearing. So it's kind of an all-in-one package for the Medicare Advantage. But again, you have to play by the rules of the plan.
How does that differ, if at all, from, I believe it's called Medigap? Is that
Medigap. Mm-hmm.
what is
Yeah.
that? And is it the same thing or no?
It's different. So your Medigap, which is also called Medicare Supplement, there's 10 plans, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. That might be more than 10, but they are slowly getting rid of them.
Yeah.
The two most popular ones are G and N. And what happens in this lane is that you stay in original Medicare. And so the government is paying that 80%, and you're going to get a supplement plan to pick up the 20%. The appeal for a Medicare supplement plan is this. These plans are standardized across the country. Nothing can change with these plans without an act of Congress. So we know nothing's going to change. The Medicare Advantage plans are technically contracted only for that calendar year. A lot of them stay in the market and stay similar, but they're only contracted for the year. The Medicare supplements, they're standard. They're not going to change.
Mm.
The other really big thing about the Medicare supplements is that there are no networks. You can see 92% of the doctors in the country that accept Medicare. You can see go to 92% of the facilities that accept Medicare. So you're paying for that freedom of being able to see anyone that you want to see in the United States. And you're also paying for that consistency. You know nothing is going to change unless Congress is going to pull it together and make a change for you.
Okay. I think one of the biggest fears that we have, at least maybe from my personal experience with my parents and my in-laws for that matter, was long-term care. What are the options there for somebody facing that possibility?
So true long-term care is not covered under Medicare.
Okay.
So that is you're going to have to get your long-term care insurance, or you're going to have to be prepared to pay fully out of pocket. Now, assisted living facility is covered under original Medicare, and so that's covered by your Medicare supplement or your Medicare Advantage.
Good.
And you do get 100 days for that. And maybe you have a stroke, you need to rehabilitate, get your strength up. Maybe you had a fall, you need to get your strength up. But one of the caveats with that, and this is going to be me going down rabbit holes, so stop me, is that you have to show improvement to stay in the skilled nursing facility. You can't say, oh, I have 100 days here, let's see what I can do with myself. You
Okay.
don't get to stay there. So that's a little bit of a caveat. And that's kind of a hot topic in the Medicare space, because the reason why it's a hot topic and becomes so polarizing is that people are realizing for the first time that they now need to find a place to live that they either don't have insurance for or are going to cost a lot of money.
Another fear that I'm running across in conversation is that, and gosh, we get it all the time, is we get these emails with spam and scams going
Mhm.
on, and there's a lot of that going on with the senior community. I'm sure it's prevalent with respect to Medicare itself.
Mhm.
Do you see it? What do you advise? How do you avoid it?
It's rampant, and it's just not with Medicare. We're having the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act, for those who are under 65, technically is still private insurance. A lot of people think it's government insurance, but it's not. It's just an act that allows individuals to get health insurance without pre-existing conditions. But because it has a government element, we have government platforms. And so what happens is that these scammers are really good at getting access to the data. And they'll call, they'll ask for your social security number, they'll ask for your Medicare number. And you should not be giving your social security number or your Medicare number to no one, no one. Your Medicare number should only be going to your trusted broker and the admin at the desk when you go to a doctor's appointment. No one else needs that. A financial planner doesn't need it. A credit card company doesn't need it. When they're trying to scam you into a cruise around the world, they don't need it. No one needs that Medicare number. Social Security, you have to give it out now and then, but we should never be giving that out if we really do not know the person on the phone. And a little side note, I worked for a call center, and there were so many times where people will say to me, well, you sound trustworthy, so I'll give it to you, even though they say I shouldn't. And even though, yes, I was trustworthy with their information, the amount of people who didn't have the strength to be like, you sound wonderful, but I know better. So it doesn't matter how nice and lovely and wonderful they are on the phone. Do not give it away.
Yeah, these scammers work at sounding trustworthy. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't, I suppose, but yeah.
And the other thing, if I can share, one of the big things too is there's so much marketing for um, food cards for seniors. Let's qualify. Let's get you qualified for a food card. Let's get you
Mm,
qualified for your gas. We'll pay your gas bill. We'll pay your light bill. We'll pay your rent. We'll pay your mortgage. These are happening with the insurance plans and Medicare Advantage. Unfortunately, though, most of them are for low income. And sadly, individuals with low income are the ones that kind of are a little bit more desperate and will call or take that phone call or have that conversation. But very few people actually qualify for them. So compliance wise, they're allowed to market because yes, they exist, but very few people actually qualify for them.
Erin, I'm going to stop us right here because I think you've given us a good broad understanding of Medicare,
Mhm.
covered the waterfront. We've gotten our ankles wet, but we haven't dipped into the water. So if somebody wanted to go into the water and learn more about Medicare, I know you do seminars and I know you do meetings with clients. How might somebody approach you? What is the best way to go about doing that? How would they contact you? And would it be to see or hear your next seminar or to meet with you? How do you like to do that with clients?
Sure. Anyone can call my phone number, call, text. The amount of clients that text me are amazing and wonderful. So that kind of always seems to be a little bit easier as I'm running my day. And that phone number is 704-227-5048. My email, you can also reach out to me via my email. My email is Erin, Erin, at Vimirra, that's V as in Victor, I M as in Mary, RRA.com. So I'm open to all forms of communication. We can either schedule an appointment to do a full presentation in person. And then I took the summer off for the seminars, but I'm getting those started back up here in the coming months. So I will have those dates posted soon. And
Awesome. Awesome.
anyone's welcome to attend those.
And to our listeners, if you didn't write that down fast enough, uh, at the tail end of this, you will have her full contact information, and I urge you to reach out to Erin. Again, she's a former teacher, so she's really good at sitting down and kind of explaining what is complicated, but something that you don't want to overlook in terms of necessity. And we might have further podcasts that go a level deeper on some of these topics. There's so much to this. So look forward to future podcasts on this topic. And if you like what you're hearing in this podcast, please give us a review. 5 stars will be fantastic. And if you have topics that you'd want to hear more about, if it applies to the 50s, 60s, the boomers and all of us, please let us know. We relish and appreciate your feedback. So I hope this was worthwhile to you. Erin, thank you so much for joining us. And that's a wrap, guys. Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you, Dave. You're
All right.
great. Thank you so much.
All right, you take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Carolina Senior Talk podcast. We hope you found today's episode both informative and helpful. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. If you enjoyed today's show, please leave us a review and share it with those who might benefit from our advice. If you or anyone you know is looking to buy, sell, or relocate to the Carolinas, or you simply want to know how much equity you have in your home, be sure to contact me at www.carolinaseniortalk.com. Until next time, we wish you the best on your senior living journey in the Carolinas. Take care. Thank you for listening once again, and talk to you soon.